When people hear that a priest died, they expect to hear stories of angels, choirs of heaven, and streets of gold. That's what I expected too. But when my heart stopped on that hospital bed, when the monitors flatlined, I didn't see light. I didn't see heaven. Instead, I opened my eyes in darkness, heat, and torment. And let me confess this to you, I was not prepared for what I saw. For years, I stood at the altar, lifted the chalice, prayed the rosary, and recited the scriptures. People bowed, kissed my hands, and called me Father. They believed I was close to God. But what they didn't see were the doubts in my heart, the pride that blinded me, the secret sins I excused because of my title. I thought being a priest guaranteed me a seat in heaven. I thought wearing the collar was enough. But Jesus' words in Matthew 23 verse 27 cut through me like a sword, "Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You are like whitewashed tombs, which look beautiful on the outside but on the inside are full of the bones of the dead and everything unclean." That was me. A whitewashed tomb. And when I left my body, the truth was revealed. I was dragged to a place where the screams never end, where the stench of burning flesh fills the air, where demons mocked me for every sermon I had preached without living it. And just when I thought I was gone forever, a hand pulled me out. A voice thundered with mercy and judgment, "Go back. Tell them. Warn them. Time is shorter than they think." That's why I'm alive today. That's why you're hearing this story. Before I continue, I want to take a moment to thank you, this community, this family of believers, seekers, and listeners. Every time you watch, share, and comment on these stories, you're not just supporting a channel, you are spreading testimonies that have the power to save lives and souls. I've read many of your comments. The tears, the confessions, the prayers for change, the testimonies of deliverance, and they remind me that God is still reaching out to His children with mercy. If you are new here, welcome. You are part of something bigger than just a video, you're part of a movement of truth, light, and awakening. So thank you for standing with us. Thank you for opening your hearts to these stories. And thank you for daring to ask the hardest questions about life, death, and eternity. I was born in 1968, in a small Catholic family in Dublin, Ireland. My parents were devoted, rosaries every evening, Sunday Mass without fail, holy water at the door. From a young age, I was drawn to the church. The smell of incense, the sound of the choir, the reverence of the Eucharist, it fascinated me. When I was 12, a visiting nun looked me in the eye and said, "You will serve the Lord one day." Those words stuck to me like fire. So at 18, I entered the seminary. My classmates admired my discipline. My professors praised my theology. I became the one people looked up to, the Holy One. But deep down, pride began to take root. The more people honored me, the more I secretly believed I was untouchable. When I was ordained at 26, the bishop placed the chalice in my hands and said, "Receive the oblation of the holy people, to be offered to God." It was the greatest moment of my life. Parishioners kissed my hands, mothers asked me to bless their children, men asked me to pray for their businesses. I was seen as a representative of God. Outwardly, I looked the part. But inwardly, cracks began to show. I struggled with anger when things didn't go my way. I judged people harshly in my heart, even while smiling at them. I buried loneliness in secret indulgences, overeating, late-night television, even harboring impure thoughts I dared not confess. And because I wore the robe, I convinced myself God would overlook it. Whenever someone asked me about hell, I gave vague answers. Yes, it exists, I would say, but God is merciful. Do not worry too much. The truth? I had stopped thinking about hell myself. I saw it as a distant doctrine, something for murderers and criminals, not for priests like me. I preached about heaven with passion but rarely mentioned judgment. I comforted people at funerals by assuring them their loved ones were in a better place, even when I wasn't sure of it myself. I did not want to scare anyone, or myself. Looking back now, I realize I was the very picture of Revelation 3 verse 1, "You have a reputation of being alive, but you are dead." My life was full of religious activity but empty of true intimacy with God. I spoke about prayer but rarely spent time in prayer. I read the scriptures for sermons but not for my soul. I stood at the altar week after week, yet sin slowly hardened my heart. By the year 2005, I had been a priest for almost 20 years. People still respected me. I still wore the robe. But in truth, I was lukewarm, distracted, and proud. And on the night of June 14, 2005, everything came crashing down. It was June 14, 2005. A Tuesday evening mass in my parish in Dublin. The air was thick with incense, the choir's voices rose softly behind me. I lifted the chalice as I had done countless times before. To the congregation, everything seemed ordinary. But inside me, I felt an unusual pressure in my chest, sharp, heavy, like a fist closing around my heart. I tried to ignore it. Priests don't collapse at the altar, I told myself. But the pain spread down my left arm, and sweat broke across my forehead. My vision blurred. Still, I pressed forward, whispering the consecration, "This is my body, given up for you." Those were the last words I remember saying before my knees buckled beneath me. I heard gasps from the pews, someone shouting, "Father Michael." Hands rushed to catch me, the chalice spilling wine across the altar cloth. But before I could respond, my body grew heavy, and then strangely light. I looked down and saw myself lying on the marble floor, parishioners gathering around me, calling my name, shaking me. Yet I was standing above them, clear, weightless, watching. Confusion hit me. How can I be here and there at the same time? I stretched out my hand to touch the altar, my hand went straight through. I tried to speak, but no one heard me. Then the scene changed. The church faded like smoke, and I felt myself being pulled backward, fast, like a current dragging me underwater. The light disappeared, swallowed by a darkness so deep it felt alive. At first, silence. Then faint whispers. Then, louder, shrieks, voices crying out in agony. I tried to pray, "Our Father, who art in heaven," but the words died in my throat. The darkness tightened around me, pressing against my skin. A foul stench filled the air, sulfur, burning flesh, something rotten beyond description. And then I saw them. Shapes moving in the shadows. Faces twisted beyond human recognition, eyes full of rage, mouths open in endless screams. These were souls, men, women, young, old, thrashing, clawing, wailing. Their voices blended into a symphony of torment. I heard one cry out, "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't anyone warn me?" Another shrieked, "Too late. Too late forever." Terror unlike anything I had ever known gripped me. My chest felt tight, but I had no body. My thoughts raced, "This isn't real. This can't be real. I'm a priest. I don't belong here." But then I remembered Jesus' words in Luke 12 verse 47, "The servant who knows the master's will and does not get ready or does not do what the master wants will be beaten with many blows." I was that servant. I had known. I had preached. Yet I had lived half-heartedly. Something grabbed me, claws, rough and sharp, curling around my arms. A voice hissed in my ear, guttural and mocking, "Hypocrite. Shepherd who led no one. You're ours." I was dragged deeper. The heat grew unbearable, flames rising like living creatures. Each scream I heard pierced me to the core. In that moment, I realized, hell is not a metaphor. It is real. And I was there. The claws tightened around me as I was dragged deeper into the abyss. Every inch I descended, the cries grew louder, the heat more unbearable, and the stench more suffocating. It felt as though fire was not around me but inside me, burning through every thought, every regret, every memory. I tried to fight. I shouted, "I am a servant of God. I am a priest of Christ." But the darkness only laughed back. A chorus of mocking voices echoed, "Priest. Father. Shepherd. You fed yourself, not the flock. You honored yourself, not the Lord." I was thrown onto a ground that wasn't solid but burning, molten rock that seared without consuming. I screamed, but my voice was swallowed by the wails of countless souls. They were everywhere, millions of them, writhing in agony, their faces twisted with despair. Then I noticed something that froze my spirit. I recognized some of them. A man who had sat in my confessional for years, confessing the same sins, looking for comfort. I always told him, "Do your penance, God is merciful," but I never challenged him to truly repent. Now he glared at me through his torment. "You knew. Why didn't you warn me more strongly? Why did you let me stay comfortable in my sin?" His scream was louder than the fire. Another was a young woman. I had comforted her family at her funeral years before, assuring them she was in a better place. But here she was, shrieking, gnashing her teeth, her eyes burning with rage. "Liar! You told them I was safe. You knew nothing about my soul, and now I am here forever." The weight of their accusations crushed me. Every false assurance, every half-truth, every sermon preached without conviction now rose up against me like flames licking at my skin. Demons circled, hideous creatures, half-human, half-beast, their forms shifting with grotesque laughter. One leaned close, its breath like poison, whispering, "You wore the robe, but your heart was naked. You lifted the chalice, but your soul was empty. You are one of us." They began to replay my life before me. Not the public ceremonies or the polished sermons, but the secret moments. The envy I hid. The pride I nurtured. The lustful thoughts I dismissed. The bitterness I carried. Each memory was like a dagger. I cried out, "Lord, have mercy." But mercy felt distant here. A voice thundered across the flames, not God's but an accusing echo, "You had your chance. You knew the truth. You preached it, but you lived a lie. There is no escape." I fell to my knees, if knees could exist in that place, and sobbed. Despair wrapped around me like chains. The most unbearable part wasn't even the fire or the screams, it was the absolute absence of hope. Every soul around me knew they would never leave. The clock of mercy had stopped. Eternity stretched before us like an endless tunnel with no light. I remembered Jesus' words in Mark 9 verse 48 about hell, where their worm does not die, and the fire is not quenched. I had quoted it in sermons before, but now I saw it, the worms, the fire, the torment, alive and endless. As I lay there in terror, I realized something even more horrifying: I deserved it. I was no different from the souls around me. Titles, robes, rituals, none of it mattered here. Only the heart. Only obedience. Only true surrender to Christ. And just when I thought I would be swallowed forever, when the demons began dragging me toward a deeper pit, I saw a light. As the demons dragged me toward a pit darker than the rest, their claws digging into me, I felt something inside finally break. I stopped resisting. I stopped arguing. I whispered into the flames, "Maybe I deserve this, maybe this is who I really am." The heat intensified, the screams pierced deeper, and I thought eternity had closed its gates on me. But then it happened. A light, small at first, like a distant star, broke through the suffocating darkness. The demons shrieked, covering their faces, retreating in fear. The light grew brighter, purer, until it became like the sun blazing at midnight. It wrapped around me, shielding me from the flames. Out of the light stepped a figure. His presence was overwhelming, not just seen, but felt. Holiness radiated from him like fire and yet brought peace like cool water. His face was indescribable, brighter than lightning, yet his eyes pierced straight into my soul. It was Jesus. Every part of me wanted to fall flat at his feet, but I had no strength. His voice thundered, yet it was tender, filled with authority and mercy all at once. Michael. Why do you call me Lord with your lips but deny me with your life? Did I not warn you? Did I not say, not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father? Matthew 7 verse 21. I trembled. Every excuse, every defense crumbled in his presence. All I could whisper was, Lord, I am sorry. I thought the robe would save me. I thought the title was enough. I was wrong. He looked at me, not with hatred, but with sorrow. Then he stretched out his hand. When his fingers touched me, the fire lost its sting, the chains fell away, and the demons vanished like smoke in the wind. He lifted me up and said, Your time has not yet come. I am giving you mercy. Go back. Tell them. Tell my people that hell is real. Tell the priests, the pastors, the ministers, their garments will not save them, their titles will not save them. Only holiness, only obedience, only my blood can save. Time is shorter than they think. Warn them. His words pierced me deeper than the flames ever could. They were not just a message, they were a command, a burden I could not refuse. The light grew brighter until everything around me vanished. I felt myself falling upward, rushing back through the tunnel, the screams fading behind me. Then, in an instant, I opened my eyes. I was back in the church, lying on the marble floor, paramedics working frantically over my body. Someone shouted, He's breathing. The congregation wept with relief. But inside me, nothing was the same. I had seen hell. I had heard the voice of Jesus. I had been given a second chance, and a mission. When I returned to my body, I was no longer the same priest who had collapsed at the altar. My heart still pounded with weakness, my body frail, but my soul was alive in a way it had never been before. In the weeks that followed, the doctors insisted I rest, but I could not rest. Sleep was impossible without hearing the screams of hell in my dreams. Food lost its taste, because I remembered the stench of burning flesh. The applause of people no longer mattered, because I had seen demons mock me with the very title of Father. I stood before my congregation the first Sunday after my recovery. They expected a gentle homily, perhaps about healing or thanksgiving. Instead, I wept openly before them. My voice shook as I said, I lied to you. I told you that good works and rituals were enough. But I must tell you the truth, hell is real, and many of us are on the road there. Some looked at me with shock, others with tears. A few whispered that I was exaggerating. But I could not keep silent. From that day, my sermons changed. I no longer preached about comfort without conviction. I spoke about sin, repentance, holiness, and the narrow way. I pleaded with my fellow priests to examine their own hearts, to stop hiding behind garments and titles. Some avoided me, some mocked me, but a few listened, and their lives changed too. In my private life, I cut off every secret indulgence. I spent hours in prayer, not for sermons, but for my soul. The scriptures became alive, sharper than ever. Every face I saw reminded me of eternity. I knew my mission now, to warn, to call, to plead. Because time is shorter than we think. My friend, if you are hearing my voice right now, listen closely, hell is real. I stood in it. I smelled the sulfur. I heard the screams. And I tell you with tears, you do not want to go there. Do not hide behind religion, or good works, or family name. Only Jesus saves. Titles, rituals, robes, they cannot protect your soul. Jesus warned us, enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it, Matthew 7 verse 13. Please, repent while there is still time. Tomorrow is not promised. Eternity is forever. Now I turn to you. Do you believe hell is real? Have you ever thought about where you would spend eternity if your heart stopped tonight? I saw it with my own eyes, and I cannot stay silent. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments. Tell me if this testimony touched you, or if you've had an encounter that changed your life. Thank you for listening, for sharing, and for standing with this community of truth. May God keep your soul safe. Until next time, stay ready, for eternity could begin at any moment.